Hello, this is Christina Barton. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barton. Today we're going to be talking about some interesting news, breaking news. You've heard by now by the time you're hearing me talk about it. But Krysten Sinema, senator from Arizona, who decided to switch her party affiliation to independent, so it was a three-way race between her and Kari Lake and the Democrat challenger. She's no longer going to be running in the race. Therefore, things are going to get pretty interesting. I mean, there's other people besides like Kari Lake and the Democrat, but without Krysten Sinema being the incumbent running and basically soaking up a lot of those votes there from that Democrat, maybe, perhaps, allegedly, it looked like that was the case for the polling. Kari Lake's chances of winning that seat have slimmed quite a bit. So we'll be talking about that, and live action, came out. Kari Lake, I think it was supposed today, well, at least I saw it today. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Also, the Dune movie, part 2. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to go see it tonight, actually. But it's doing really well. And people are really hyping it up. But apparently there was a lot of people upset about the film, and that people are going to go see it because they want it to boycott it because they don't like the actor who's the lead, because he made a joke on SNL and he's Jewish and other things, I guess. So they were demanding a boycott, and just really crazy stuff. So we'll be talking about that, and Keith Olbermann yesterday really lost his mind. He was so upset about the Supreme Court's ruling. Mind you, the ruling on Trump being kicked off the Colorado ballot. We talked about that a bit yesterday. Mainly talked about the reaction from Colorado's Secretary of State, who I said had the crazy eyes. Olbermann, what he said about it was far more crazy. And I saw that my sister had mentioned it while I was live in the comments, and I didn't look it up at the time. But we're going to talk about it today because it's pretty nuts. And I just don't understand how many people have lost their minds over Trump. To me, it seems pretty obvious that the Supreme Court was going to rule a particular way and probably rule 9-0. So people who are so upset about it need to go check themselves. And I don't mean just check themselves like, let's do a heart check, let's do a mind check, like, check yourself in the mirror, just ask yourself some tough questions. I mean, check yourself into a mental institution. Maybe that's where Keith Olbermann belongs. And to know that this person used to be on like MSNBC and all that stuff is just really, really crazy. So anyway, well, those are the things we'll be talking about today. And if anything else comes to mind. But before we jump into it, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, because it does cost a stream on my website, all that stuff. So you guys can support. I do very much appreciate it for watching on Facebook. You guys can send stars on Facebook, and if you're on YouTube, you guys can send super chats. And if you're watching back later, because I know not all of you can watch live, you can send super thanks on YouTube. So thank you for that. But again, you guys can just go directly to the website and donate from there. You guys can check out different merch that we have available on the website, like the I'm Not the Victim You're Looking For shirt and other t-shirts. We got black tea mugs and so on. So that's a good way to support if that is, how you would like to support in that sort of way. So appreciate you. You guys can also check out my mini books that I have available at Black. Well, you guys can find them on the merchandise page of blacktnews.com. There's a banner that'll take you to my book website. But if you just go to Amazon and search my name, Christina Elbar, that's Christina with a CH, you guys will be able to find my mini books. I have 17 that are all together. If you're in the Michigan area, by the way, I will be at Motor City Comic Con in May. So I'm looking forward to that. It's still got some time, till that pops up. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that time. So anyway, let's I like to start off with the jokey jokes sometimes if I have any, that are popping up. So let's go ahead and start with this Olbermann situation, because it is pretty nuts. So again, yesterday it was totally, absolutely not shocking at all in the least bit, and I mean in the least bit, that Olbermann, sorry, that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of against Colorado, who's trying to kick Trump from the ballot. It was not shocking, not shocking. If you listen to some of the arguments, which we did on the show the day that they were going through the arguments, it did not sound like the lawyer had a good shot at all. Gorsuch kind of dismantled him. Other people dismantled him. Even Ketanji Brown was asking like pointed questions that seem like they're gonna sway against him. They're not going to rule in their favor. I just couldn't see it. And if there was maybe one person who was going to do it, maybe Sotomayor, but it was 9-0. It was 9-0. But there are some, people on the left who are pretending like, oh, this is just the rogue court. I saw some people leave comments under some of my posts that were like, oh, well, this Trump stacked court ruled in something in his favor. Ooh, so surprising. It's like he picked 3 people. And there is a conservative majority, so maybe those 3 people could sway like 2 other people, and and maybe they could sway Roberts or whatever. But there's still liberal justices on the court, and if they didn't want to vote that way and it had to go 6-3 or something, they would have did that. But there was no case to be made, guys. Now people like David French wrote pieces about how they're ignoring the Constitution and parts of it, and he's upset. No, you're just really reaching, and you're confused because you have TDS so bad. I understand people not liking Trump. I don't understand people emptying their brains of all logic and reason because they hate somebody so much. It was so obvious that Colorado was going to lose here. Absolutely obvious. But Olbermann, he just went off. He went off as in like telling off people, but he also went off in the sense of like off the deep end as well. So let's look at some of those tweets. So this is the one that was going around again. My sister was, it's like, did you see Olbermann stuff? Well, I was talking yesterday. So he said the Supreme Court has betrayed democracy. It's in context, betrayed democracy by not having one state basically pick who gets to be the president, and setting a precedent that rogue states could do that, ruining democracy as in other people are going to the country will have a say in who gets to be the president. That's how they're ruining democracy. That's how the Supreme Court is ruining democracy. So you coming on here to be all upset about the checks and balances, it's just nuts. So anyway, the Supreme Court has betrayed democracy. Its members, including Jackson, those mad at his own people, Kagan, Sotomayor, have proved themselves inept at reading comprehension, and collectively the court has shown itself to be corrupt and illegitimate. It must be dissolved. So this dude said, cry more, 9-0. And he said, those aren't tears, fascists. They're urine. I'm sure you enjoy being bathed in it. So, why? So many people have asked the question now, and I'm not the first one to ask. But I'm going to just go ahead and ask the obvious. Why is there pee in your eyes? why is there urine in your eyes that you're leaking out? Is that the assertion here? Or um tears fascist their urine? Um boy, if there's like, I'm sure there's got to be people. Yeah, there's people who write jokes and get paid for it. Maybe there needs to be like somebody on standby for somebody like Keith here to help them with the zingers. I can do pretty good zingers online with people. I can do pretty good zingers when I'm talking to people. I've a pretty I guess fast working brain as far as like the insults and the shade. It can come pretty fast. Sometimes my sister's like, "You just thinking that on the spot?" I'm like, "Yes, obviously." But so there's someone out there that I'm sure you could contact to be like, "Hey, I need a response here to cry more." Because they probably wouldn't have said, "Say it's urine. Say it's urine." So there have been some funny memes going around and so on here with Mr. Olbermann. But he just went nutso after Trump got elected and started his resistance and so on. And again, I know people don't want Trump to be on the ballot. I know people don't want Trump to be president, and it everyone will have their say at the ballot box. And you're gonna the worst thing they could have done was keep Joe as the person who's going to go against him. And it looks like, I don't know, we'll see what happens at their convention, but looks like he's not going to be switched out, and it's going to be a Trump v. Biden. And Biden is so bad, which his numbers really start tanking after the Afghanistan exit. People don't appreciate, he doesn't seem like he's capable of doing the job because he is so elderly, and it's not just that he's old, it just kind of seems like he's not quite there with it as he used to be. Being slowful, not being able to, be as sharp as you were as a younger man is one thing, but they're trying to pretend like Joe Biden is, I don't know, more vigorous than ever or something like that, which is just laughable, right? People, are still upset about the economy, though maybe more people are used to it now, and and it is better, I guess, than it has been by the numbers, but people still feel it, hard in their pockets and so on. So Joe Biden has the problem. I think the border is the one that's the most pressing. He could obviously moderate and do some things that make sense, but that's not what he wants to do. So Democrats are probably going to lose. At least that's what it looks like right now from the polling. We'll see what happens. And Trump is actually far more moderate than Biden. Trump is more in the middle with the issue. So if he seemed like he was more moderate, or like people assumed he would be when he came into office, he'd probably still be running away with this thing. Because there's still a lot of people who don't want to support Trump, don't like Trump, who are on the right, definitely independents and stuff. However, it looks like Biden is kind of the worst between the two. So that's the drama, trouble with their side, man. That Biden promised to be, he claimed he was going to be basically a placeholder kind of president or whatever, a transitionary president, but then he decided he was going to run again. And he decided that he's going to try to really transform the country and make some waves and push policies, and just be aggressive on a lot of really, really, really far left stuff. And people aren't digging it. Spent an incredible amount of money, no signs of stopping, attacks the other side, needlessly and unwarrantedly, and does character assassinations that are just really unjust. He's not a good president. He's not a good leader. So some people are open to having the wild man back, because at least they're like, well, at least the economy was better, and at least, well, maybe Trump had a point about the border, stuff like that. So if you don't want Trump to be president, that a lot of that is on your side, bruh. A lot of that is on your side. Or when other Republicans were running against Trump, everybody kind of wanted to pretend like, there's always a speech like, well, Trump is bad, but they're still bad too. Or they're really bad because they won't condemn Trump enough. Like if they wanted to really have someone else be like the person, they could have really uplifted, I don't know, DeSantis or somebody else. But no, they wanted to pretend like they were supporting slavery in Florida, So ultimately the Republican voters are the ones who decided to do, to pick the candidate. So, and they very much, after all the indictments started coming in, they very much wanted to stick by Trump. But the media really didn't make it seem like they wanted anyone other than that man anyway. So you're probably going to get that Trump second presidency. We'll see, but don't that the people have their say, and that's what democracy in action. But pretending like the Supreme Court is so crazy for making a correct ruling because they didn't stop the guy you don't like. That's not their job. Their job is to look at the law. And y'all really wanted to disqualify a man for insurrection who was not charged or found guilty of insurrection. Like you could have at least done that and then have at least some kind of case, but that hasn't happened. That hasn't happened. So what a psychotic dude. He also just I don't know. He just was cuckoo yesterday. The P thing is just we'll hopefully live with him forever. But David French, other people had bad takes too. Other people had bad takes, so we shall get yourselves together, guys. I can't believe people really, really thought out of all the things that was going to take Trump down, that it was going to be that crazy Colorado ruling from their Supreme Court. No way. No way. Anyway, let's move on to the Kari Lake situation. So, some breaking news here. We'll listen a little bit to Sinema's big announcement, and not this whole video, but we'll go through some of it.
In 2017, I warned we were approaching a crossroads. Our democracy was weakened by government dysfunction and the constant pull to the extremes by both political parties. I promised I would do my best to fix it, to protect and defend our Constitution, to listen to others without judging.
So I do want to jump in and say she is correct that there is a issue that we have right now on both sides of like people pushing and pulling to extremes. Now it depends what you claim is like an extreme, because some things people say is an extreme. I'm like, well, is it really extreme, or is it just kind of the logical conclusion? I don't know, if you said that we're going to ban abortion and you only had the exception for, if in the condition of you can have an abortion if it's to preserve life rather than end it electively or something. And someone's like, that's an extreme position. Is it? Or is it just the valuable conclusion of like inevitable conclusion of life? Human development begins at conception. Therefore, we want that's when your life begins. Therefore, we think that's when your right to life begins. Therefore, that you can't go out of your way to kill that person, especially electively. That doesn't sound like an extreme position. Thinking that you can kill someone, I think for I don't know, any sort of reason, it seems like an extreme position, whether you want to do it at 6 weeks or 15 weeks or whatever. Um, so just because it's like kind of at the end further than where you are doesn't mean that it is extreme. But there are kind of more um, extreme kind of people that have like really severe purity tests on things that aren't even like things that should define your being conservative or Republican and stuff. For example, for something on the right, uh, if you don't say that the election was stolen in 2020, there are people, politicians, all kinds of people who the press would ask them those questions, and maybe they would be like, in their heart of hearts, they're like, I don't see that evidence that it was stolen, but they are afraid to just kind of outright say that because there's people in the base who'd be like, well, you're a darn rhino, how dare you not believe that? And so instead of saying, well, we disagree with this, they'll just be like, well, you must be a rhino, which is a Republican in name only. And to feel that that is like something that you need ideological purity with is silly. Is silly. Uh, so yeah, there you can see it on both sides. Of the left, you could say so many things are so crazy. Uh, like the boys playing on the girls' sports teams, and them going into the female prisons, and a feeling that you need to be able to, I don't know, teach that stuff in schools and have things like gender queer and so on. That stuff is so extreme. And so yeah, there's definitely extremes on both sides. So I just wanted to say that I do agree with her on those things. At the end of the day, she did stand against her party on some things and do some bipartisan sort of pushes on stuff, but she is still a reliable Democrat. There were times where she held out on votes to get other things in the bills that she wanted done, but that doesn't mean that they were still good bills. But we would. She's a Democrat. I'm a Republican. I mean, she's an independent, but there are things that we would obviously disagree about.
To focus on what unites us and to make Americans' lives better. Through listening, understanding, and compromise, we delivered tangible results that make America safer, stronger, and more prosperous. Yet, despite modernizing our infrastructure, ensuring clean water, delivering good jobs and safer communities, Americans still choose to retreat farther to their partisan corners. These solutions are considered failures, either because they're too much or not nearly enough. It's all or nothing. The outcome, less important than beating the other guy. The only political victories that matter these days are symbolic. Attacking your opponents on cable news or social media. Compromise is a dirty word. We've arrived at that crossroad, and we
I'll let her finish.
chose anger and division. I believe in my approach, but it's not what America wants right now. I love Arizona, and I am so proud of what we've delivered. Because I choose civility, understanding, listening, working together to get stuff done, I will leave the Senate at the end of this year.
So I mean that's the important sort of breaking part right there. So I will note though, people want to attack and then they go on TV and they're like, people give them kudos or whatever. That is totally our culture right now. That is totally where America's at. The Kevin McCarthy ousting him thing was like a huge drama for no reason. And you had Gates who is going up, upset and going talking on the TV and fundraising. And then you had Nancy Mace who would get up there and be upset, at McCarthy and then fundraise off of that. And she's going around wearing her A on her chest, your scarlet letter or whatever. And she was just a drama, um, attention seeking drama queen. And that was way nicer than what I had in my mind. But I'm like, let me edit that. But uh, yeah, some of them didn't even have like good solid reasons for even ousting him, but they went with that flow and got to go on TV and et cetera, et cetera. And people really think that as long as you're attacking somebody and you're getting the own points and you're getting attaboys on Twitter, that's what's important, as opposed to like actually like getting good legislation done or stopping bad legislation from happening or whatever. But you have to. Americans, they'll complain about things, um, you know, people not being able to govern, but then they reward like bad behavior. So I don't know what to do with the state of the country right now, guys. Like an example outside the Senate, like people would be so happy over some of the dunks that Vivek would do, would give on the debate stage or something, or when he's out on the campaign trail. Um, but I'm like, look at some like actual more substance, guys. And look at people's records, but people are so impressed with how they fight. How do they fight? How do they fight? And I'm like, well, how do they win? How did they execute things? What's their actual standard of governance, and did they keep their promises? And how long have they actually been a republic? Just there's so many things to think about. But people are like, oh yeah, he said that line that really punched Nikki Haley in the face metaphorically, and so I that's why I'm happy, you know. So it's been this way for a while, but it's just getting worse and worse. But anyway, Krysten Sinema doesn't, I guess, see a path for her to win, and if she doesn't see a path for her to obtain victory, and she was running as an independent, I guess she just figured there's no point in staying in the race. And if there's no point in her staying in the race, because she can't win, she's just obstructing her path. Not well. If she can't win, she's obstructing the path of the Democrat person, Ruben Gallego. Sorry if that's wrong. I said the last name, but and then Kari Lake will win, and that's part of her strategy. Like I can win this three-legged race or whatever, three-man race, and now it's going to be down to two people. So Arizona is, a swing state, and people seem to like Krysten Sinema. It was just a matter of like Democrats being really upset with some of the stances that she takes, but she was still pulling the Democrat vote. So now she's not pulling that vote, and they all go toward Rubin. That's not going to be good for Kari Lake. So we'll see how that polling gets readjusted, but she's gonna have to appeal to independents and some. There's a lot of moderate Republicans in there. I have some family that lives out in Arizona, and they're like, man, there's some people out there. They love John McCain. They love John McCain. And Kari Lake did try to kind of make peace, like publicly, well, on socially, like on Twitter, with Meghan McCain, and wrote out this long, call for peace. And Meghan McCain was like, "No peace, B." She cursed at her, and she's just like, "No, you don't get to like. We're not going to bury the hatchet." And I don't totally blame her. I guess they talk, people talk about your daddy. You're just gonna like, you can say fate of the country. That's her daddy. So I get it. I get it. And she probably doesn't like her too much anyway. And and when she had the attitude like we don't need McCain voters or whatever that she kind of said in 2022, people don't forget that. So there are big stakes at hand, but she's gonna have to make that win without Meghan. But that doesn't mean it's impossible for her to make her case. But I think it would have been better if they had someone stronger in the race with some other sort of experiences, and someone who didn't just come off of a loss which was the conversation in the leaked phone call that she had with the Arizona former GOP chair, and they were talking about how people wanted her to get out of the race, and that they wanted her to just kind of cool off and wait a little bit. And we talked about that at the time, and I told you guys, I'm like, it's not an unreasonable thing for people to be like, hey, you're just coming off of a statewide loss, and there's another statewide race. What if you just kind of cool it for a little bit? That's not a crazy request. Now sometimes you have to run multiple times to actually win something. But I don't know, after a while you might, dial it back and kind of rethink things. And how many losses do you need to have before you say, okay, I'm not going to win this race. Maybe I should try for a smaller race. I don't know. It depends. Like John James ran for Senate and he lost. Then John James in Michigan ran again for Senate and he lost. So then he decided to run for Congress and he won, not by a lot. But he did win. And so he's a city congressman right now. Didn't win the Senate, but he ran the Congress. And Brenda Lawrence, who's a congresswoman out of Michigan, she ran a couple times for that seat. You're trying to win in that primary. Now she didn't lose the general a bunch of times. Which it was like an 80-20 district. Actually, she ran against me. But after she won her primary, it was pretty evident that she was going to win that race because it's an 80-20 district. But in the primary, she was a mayor of Southfield, and so she lost that primary a couple times trying to run for Congress, and then she finally won the primary, and then it was like you didn't see her anymore campaigning because she knew it was basically in the bag, and it was, to be frank. So sometimes you do have to run a couple times before you win something. But to gamble with a Senate seat like back to back, or if it was like a gubernatorial race or something like that, that's a big ask. And to me, like, I mean, and they did that recently. Stacey Abrams ran twice in a row for governor, and it didn't work out for her. She got beat really bad the second time when they tried for that rematch. Beto O'Rourke, he ran for different seats, but there's still statewide stuff. So he ran against Ted Cruz, and he lost. And then he was in the presidential race for a little bit, saying the most radical things to carve out a piece of the voting base about, yeah, we're taking your guns and all this stuff. And then he's like, okay, well, now I want to be the governor. And I'm like, okay, but we still have sound bites of you saying you want to take people's guns. So it's not going to work out too well. And it did for him. And he got, beat by Abbott. So people being concerned if Kari Lake is going to be able to pull this off, it's not an unwarranted concern. You may not like me saying that or whatever, but it's not an unwarranted concern. But we'll see what happens. She has to make an appeal to people in the middle. So perhaps that is why she's made statements that have upset Lila Rose. Let me show you guys what Lila's upset about. But Kari Lake, when I saw she was trending, this is one of the first things. Actually, I think I saw this earlier, and then I saw she was trending. I'm like, are a lot of people talking about this? But not really. I think most people are talking about the fact that Sinema dropped out, but Lila Rose is the head of live action, and so she's calling out Kari Lake because she sorry. Lila Rose is reporting it as Kari Lake just announced she thinks it's okay to legalize child killing provided enough people vote for it. Horrific. How does the GOP end up with candidates like this? There's no difference between them and pro-abortion Democrats. Now, I don't know her deep convictions about this issue. And I don't know her deep convictions about a lot of things, because she was like a Democrat 2 seconds ago. I know people really, really love Kari Lake and stuff, and she's been in Michigan a few times and stuff. I've never talked to her. But and I thought she was like incredible, like different press conferences that she had. and so on, how she dealt with the media, which she was a member of the media. So yeah, she's good. She's good behind the camera. Um, but as far as like the deep kind of philosophical issues, where does she really stand? I don't know. I don't know. But people are NBC reported that she clarified her position on abortion. And Kari Lake said, I'm the only woman in the race for U.S. Senate in Arizona who has given birth, experienced pregnancy, and experienced the joy of motherhood. I do not support a federal abortion ban. I believe the issue belongs to voters in their states to decide. I do support helping women and saving babies with baby bonuses and tax relief and child tax credits. So, so you gotta be careful about the baby bonuses. I don't know exactly how they're what that curtails, but you don't want to make more welfare queens. Better make sure people are married or something, like for families or whatnot. But so she says, we're not going to federalize it, which is kind of opposite of what Trump is saying right now. Because Trump is like, oh, we're going to make a deal, and then we're going to end the issue. We're going to end the issue because it's so controversial. So I'm going to end it. So they're talking about 15 weeks. It could be later. But 15 is kind of what's floating around, which would still allow like most abortions to occur, by the way. But she's saying, I believe this should be a states issue. Now, I don't. Now, there's plenty of Republicans or even pro-life people who have made that argument and continue to hold that sentiment that it's the state should decide, it shouldn't be on the federal level, and that was their pitch for we need to get rid of Roe v. Wade and let the states decide this thing, etc. That wasn't something that I was saying because I believe that it should be banned, like period, equal protection, all that stuff. I don't think it should be a states' rights issue of violating human rights. I mean, slavery was a states' rights issue, right? But that doesn't make it right. So I'm not of that mindset. So I differ here from Kari Lake. I don't know if the Arizona will or won't have a ballot initiative. I'll have to read up more on it, but people were saying they probably have some kind of ballot initiative regarding abortion, and that will probably make turnout quite high. But and I would assume that I would assume it would probably pass. I don't know if they will or they won't. But that doesn't say anything about your kind of personal convictions. But Lila is, I guess, she thinks it's okay to legalize child killing provided enough people vote for it. So if it's a state issue, that's kind of true. I mean, if the states decide that the people want it, then she supports the states deciding that. I'm assuming she would personally. I'm assuming. I guess I don't know, but I would be assuming that maybe she'd vote no for that herself. But if the state decides it, then that's what the state decides. I don't think that's the right kind of call. However, that is how a lot of pro-life people have been misinforming the public for some years now, making the states' right argument of why we need to get rid of Roe v. Wade. So I don't think it's right how people have misinformed people of their views. Again, that wasn't my thing that I was saying. But there's a lot of pro-life people who held that view. I guess still holds it, but now that they've achieved overturning Roe v. Wade, now they're like, okay, no, we need a federal ban. So another thing though that's interesting from Lila Rose writing this is that the abolitionist in me is like, okay, she's coming for Kari Lake for her opinion on saying it's a states' rights issue. But Lila Rose in live action, they are of the opinion that abortion should only be criminalized for like the doctors and I guess men or whoever, just anyone other than the woman. While the abolitionist stance is you criminalize the action, and whoever commits the action of abortion is the one who's punished. So yes, you might end up if a man forces her to go through that process, then she's coerced into it. or let's say she's forced into it. Of course, the person forced her into it would be going to jail. But if that's something they've decided together or something that she decided, whoever is the one who does the act of abortion, everyone would be equally uh, looked at. It wouldn't be like a thing about punishing women. It'd be about punishing who does the crime. And so, even if the pro-life movement could enact all the laws in the world to make abortion illegal, let's say at the moment of conception, let's say they pass that, according to like basically every pro-life law there is, um, women could still have abortions via the pill, if they, whether they, I don't know, get access to it somehow, or they have them stored up, or they learn how to make them themselves. They could go to in front of a police officer, take the pill, and say, "I'm having an abortion right now," and just, I don't know, sit on the steps of the Capitol until they abort their baby and say, "Now what? What you gonna do?" And what could you do if you write in the laws that the women are always immune to any sort of prosecution? So they're kind of pushing a perpetual immunity to it. You get what I'm saying? Uh, I'm not saying there wouldn't be less of them, but a way that a lot of women, most women have abortions nowadays, is by the pill. So if those are still highly accessible, or they share recipes or whatever on how to make something kind of concoction that is similar to help them have an abortion, um, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Because you technically think that they should be immune to any sort of crime involving killing their offspring. So, um, as she points that finger, there might be a couple pointing back at Lila. But Lila does great work. Live action does fantastic work. But I've just been questioning a lot, I guess, about some of the pro life ethics and stuff. I think the Abolition Rising page and stuff is makes some really fascinating arguments. But anyway, we'll see what happens with Kari Lake and her whole ordeal. So anyway, moving on. The Dune movie has been out, and it's been doing really well. So a Variety said that Dune Part 2 has collected bigger than expected, 82.5 million in North America and 182.5 million globally in its first weekend of the release. And I'm gonna go see it tonight. So again, I haven't seen the film. And I wasn't gonna see it. They're like, "Do you want to see the movie?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't want to see it." And my family, they go see movies every Tuesday. And sometimes I'll go, sometimes I won't go. I've watched space opera stuff before, you know, but I'm not into high fantasy stuff. And I guess you wouldn't quite say it has a high fantasy appeal. To me, it's kind of like space opera meets high fantasy. Like, I know it's not like elves and other kind of stuff like that, but there's so much kind of lore with the magic kind of stuff going on, and it feels that way to me, if that makes sense. I hadn't seen the first part. I haven't read the book. I didn't see the old Dunes. I just was totally uninterested in it. But people have been saying that it is an experience, and it is so good. And my friend, this is Savvy, talked about it. And she said, I don't usually tell people to go see the movie. Like, she talks about movies, loves talking about movies, but she doesn't usually say like, you got to go out and see that. That's for you to decide. But she is like, that's a movie worth going to see. It is an experience. And so, and that seems to be the thing that people repeatedly keep saying. And so, my cousin saw the movie, and he's like, I'm gonna go see it with y'all on Tuesday. And they're like, you want to see it again? And mind you, this is a long movie. And he's like, it's an experience. And so everyone's talking about it. I'm like, okay, well, And I was still mulling it over when they were getting the tickets together. And I'm just like, okay, okay, okay. I'll go see the film. I'll go see the film. And so and they're just like, yeah, you might not have watched the first one to understand what's going on. I'm like, are you sure? And like, and when you say like what happened in the first one, all I would hear is it was long. It was long. And I heard it was long, and I heard they didn't quite like it too much. They didn't care for it or whatever. And so I didn't really have an interest in seeing it already. And I didn't have an interest in seeing it when they're saying it's long, and that's all I'm hearing about the film. So I decided to watch it last night. On Max. So I watched it, and it was fine. It was long. A lot of like fantastical things happening in the space opera. And but I don't know how they would have really steered me wrong if I just went in the movie theaters to watch this part 2 without knowing anything that happened in part 1, with like the special abilities and this prophecy and the murking of his, of the people there. It, I I don't understand how they could have just been like, yep, it's totally fine. Just walk into the movie theater not knowing a darn thing about it. That would have been probably a not great experience for me. So we'll see if it's the great experience. I'll let you guys know tomorrow if I enjoy it or not. But there are people on the internet that have been trying to boycott the film, and which is news to me actually. But someone said A.G. Hamilton was like, I can't believe the attempt to boycott Dune 2 because Timothy Chalamet is Jewish, dislikes Hamas, and Drake's Starbucks didn't succeed. This is the problem when your boycott is reliant on people who don't actually have jobs or contribute to anything useful to society. So true that. So uh so yeah, people were upset because he was drinking Starbucks and they wanted to boycott Starbucks. And he was also in an SNL skit, which I will play a little bit of the skit. By the way, there's some cursing in there, and there's going to be some cursing in some TikToks that I show you guys too. So just be prepared for that. This is a 30-second clip here from an SNL skit that has had people so mad. But this is incredible.
We just leave? Nobody saw us.
Hey, what are you guys saying down there?
Nothing, man. The song is awesome. Super gurgly. Hey, are you feeling better? You want to maybe head inside?
Would you share it on Instagram?
If it means you won't kill yourself, yeah.
What's your band's name?
Oh, it's Hamas. Hamas.
Hamas?
Oh, God, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, dude, I'm not sharing a song by Hamas on Instagram.
Oh, my God. My life sucks! A band's named Hamas? My girlfriend broke up.
We just leave? Nobody saw us.
Hey, what are you guys saying down there?
Nothing.
Oh, he said sucks. I thought he said something else. But yeah, that's why people are mad, because he made a Hamas joke. Why would you share your band name that is named Hamas? Like, are we really not aware of the fact that Hamas are the bad guys? I don't care if you don't like Israel. If you don't like Israel, fine. But why can't you just be like, there are two bad guys in the situation? Why get upset on behalf of the terrorists that murdered, kidnapped, killed children and with their families, and raped women and did all this egregious stuff, and is promising that they'll do it again if they get the chance, right? Why? Just because they're brown, or there's a history that you think you know because you did a Google search, but you actually don't know too much. Like, was that joke really so awful that you got to be like, oh, we got to boycott Dune. So I'm going to show you a few TikToks of that movement. I just searched a few really quick. Yeah, just madness from the folks here about this film. So I had decided to see this film prior to knowing that there was a boycott over dumb stuff. And there's some people who are saying, speaking out against the boycott because they're like other people on staff of the film, are pro Palestine and stuff. So it doesn't make any sense to be this upset about it. But here's a TikTok.
Critical thinking skills anymore, do they? When Zionists are in the fucking movie and they make money from the movie, they then go and they fucking give that money to Israel. And what does Israel do? Murder Palestinians. They either murder them or they kick them out of their homes and they steal their homes and give them to fucking Zionists.
I don't know if you guys heard that that crazy noise that just happened, but that's why. It was like, I don't know if that was just my headphones or if that was in the video, but that's why I jumped like that in case you needed to know.
Y'all need to use your brains. Maybe instead of going to watch Dune, maybe read a book. Maybe learn how to have some critical thinking skills. Maybe learn a little bit about Palestine. Do some educating. It's one thing to be careless, but then it's another thing to be like just plain ignorant and uneducated and just plain old stupid.
Dune there's a book, man, as well. So like, I'm not familiar with the book. I'm not familiar with the story actually at all. Some people are saying if you were aware of the book, you probably wouldn't be so mad about the story and people going to watch it or read about it or be interested in it. But here's a pretty viral video regarding this boycott.
Boycotting Dune. So why do I see mutuals and just people on my timeline with free Palestine in their bio and y'all talking about going to see Dune this weekend? What's going on? What's happening? It's Beyonce all over it. Stand for nothing, fall for anything. And then I'm trying to be empathetic because I'm learning, I really am. I'm learning a lot of shit. A lot. And one of the things is menticide. You just had a discussion about that with Ethan Klein and his struggle wife. So maybe some of y'all are just under the guise that you can do this and it doesn't really matter. I still need my entertainment, even though there are over 30,000 people dead in Palestine and they just made a fake whitewashed space world with no brown people in it at all. And Timothée Chalamet, the main motherfucker on the goddamn movie, was mocking Hamas not even a fucking few months ago. Are we living in the same reality? Like, am I fucking going crazy? Clean it up, motherfuckers.
So I'm sorry that little joke about Hamas on SNL, which I'm assuming you didn't even write that skit, but has made you so upset. But again, Hamas, they want to kill a lot of people. And they did kill a lot of people, kidnapped a lot of people. They terrorize also the Palestinian people. They'll steal their supplies. They're the reason why it isn't like a prosperous oasis of, land. They're the reason why, like, they dig up pipes and they make bombs. And the bombs don't even all make it over to Israel. Some of them land back on the people. And they take the money and they enrich their leaders and they'll live in other countries, or they'll take that money and they'll build these tunnels. Like, they're not the good guys, right? Again, even if you didn't like Israel, you could still acknowledge that Hamas is still the bad guys. They're still the baddies. So you're really so offended that an actor made a joke on SNL about terrorists? Like, for real? And what do you mean there's no brown people? Like, the white people. And I mean, like, actual, like, white-skinned people. And again, I've only seen part 1. I haven't seen the part 2 yet, but those guys are, like, obviously the bad guys that went and killed a lot of brown people, because there's Timothy is pretty white and his mom is white. Okay, but his dad is his name Oscar Isaacs? In the film, he's not white, so he's supposed to be like mixed, actually. Just the white genes, I guess, were strong. Um, and then the people on the Dune world, like the desert people, I don't remember their names. Zendaya is one of them. The actor who played her dad in Little Mermaid's in there. And there's some black people with the part of that people with the blue eyes and stuff. So it's just sorry, all the names of the folks aren't fresh in my mind, but they weren't sticking with me, man. So this take is just trash all the way around. Just trash all the way around. So maybe I'll reply to this after I watch part 2, but yeah. The reason why stuff like this fails, I guess, with the boycotts is one, the people who express ignorance about these things are the ones who are demanding that, and other people are trying to just go about their lives and be entertained with the stuff. So it sounds like, though, gathering from people's reviews, that they made a good product and there's good word of mouth, because I wasn't going to watch it. Maybe I won't like it, but they're still going to get the money for the ticket. And the reason why I'm going to give it a try, and most days, and probably still is the case, is that I would rather be writing on my computer. And as a matter of fact, that's what I was doing. I was writing, working on one of my books, and while I was watching Dune, I was also doing AI prompts of my book characters and stuff as well, because I was trying to make a TikTok. So that's what I was like doing while I was watching it. So I would much rather do things like that most of the time than go to the theater. However, there was really good word of mouth about it from people who I know who watched it. And I was like, well, now I'm curious. So then I took time out of my night to make sure that I was caught up so I could go watch this tonight. So you don't even know, you're demanding people boycott the second film, and it doesn't seem like you know anything about it. Now, again, I didn't watch the former movies. I don't know what's going to happen in this movie. I don't know what happened in the books. I didn't read the books. But is it not obvious that Zendaya is a main character? She's at the premieres. She's on the posters. So I don't understand why you just think there's a bunch of just like white people in the film. But anyway, those are your TikTok activists for you. Thank you guys for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed the conversations. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. It does cost a stream and run my website, all the stuff so you guys can support. I do very much appreciate it and appreciate you guys. You guys can check out different merch at the store, like my money, my business, got the black tea mug, and so on. You guys can go ahead and check out some of my books that I've written. I have 17 altogether. You guys can go to blacktnews.com, and at the merchandise page, there's a banner that'll take you to my book website. But otherwise, you guys can just go ahead and search my name on Amazon and find all my goodies. So thank you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.